heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Eight a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, September 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Is it open season on ICE agents right now because of the language of the radical left? Calling for violence. DHS reporting that there's been a 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE agents. And then the shooting that took place in Dallas, the FBI believes was a targeted attack against ICE agents. Have the Democrats, have the progressives, have the radical left gone too far in demonizing law enforcement? You go all the way back to the defund the police movement. And now the shooting and targeting of ICE agents. Is it time for Donald Trump to step up and start investigating Antifa and some of these violent leftist organizations a lot more aggressively? And would you support him doing that? Give us a call. Would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. Now is time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Thursday morning, 46 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 78 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
He's got a AR-15 style rifle with him in his possession as he shows up to one of the residence halls or residence apartments on the UNC campus. Obviously, he's there against a prior trespass charge. So UNC PD responds to investigate, and of course.
And Weld County Sheriff Steve Reams on with Jeff and Billy last hour. 21-year-old Ephraim DeBisa is back. The man released from the Weld County Jail earlier this month because of a soft-on-crime Colorado law because he's just not competent. He doesn't know what's going on. Was on the UNC campus seen with a firearm inside a residence hall, which is illegal.
This person who's alleged mentally incompetent is smart enough to know, well, I better get out of here. So he leaves. UNCPD gets an arrest warrant for him. That goes into the system, and then my officers, my deputies, along with the Greeley PD's officers, basically descended on the area for most of the day until we could find this guy, because he's dangerous. He's extremely dangerous. Between our combined efforts, we were able to catch him yesterday afternoon at his parents' house where he was hiding in their basement.
The last time he was in jail, he was charged with attempted murder. A few weeks later on the UNC campus. Wow. VP JD urging North Carolina's governor to sign a major crime bill into law. He's pushing for Arena's Law, named for the young woman, of course, murdered last month on Charlotte's light rail system. Vance claims that soft-on-crime policies let the suspect go free before he allegedly committed the murder. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Former FBI, here we go. Let's go to Dallas now.
Secretary Kristi Noem says Wednesday's shooting in Dallas should serve as a wake-up call to the far left that their rhetoric about ICE has consequences. No ICE officers were hit by gunfire in the attack, but 3 detainees were. One of them died. 2 others were listed in critical condition. The suspected shooter was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The words anti-ICE were found written on bullet casings at the scene. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Former FBI Director James Comey expected to be indicted on criminal charges today. A report from MSNBC says prosecutors are expected to file charges at a federal court in Virginia regarding false statements Comey allegedly made to Congress in 2020 about a probe into Russia meddling in the presidential election.
Do you stand by your House testimony on March 20th that there was no surveillance of the Trump campaign that you're aware of?
Correct.
You would know about it if they were, is that correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Fewer Americans than expected found themselves filing first-time requests for unemployment benefits last week. The Labor Department said it received 218,000 initial filings in the week ending September 20th. That's the lowest level since July. Delta Airlines is taking a look at an engine that caught fire on a runway in Georgia. The flight to Nigeria from Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport was stopped before takeoff last night when flames appeared to be shooting out of the engine. 31-year-old Robert Price Chase was arrested Tuesday on US 24, just south of Leadville. Investigators say Chase and 40-year-old Landon Mentink were involved in an altercation motivated by road rage. Chase was charged with second-degree murder and had his bond set at $100,000. 27-year-old Matthew Littlefield has been arrested for the deadly shooting in Parker. Shots fired after an argument between people in 2 vehicles. The man found dead near his vehicle right after the shooting. And then Littlefield expected to face a charge of second-degree murder now that they have him. DJT is expected to sign a deal later today that will allow TikTok to continue operating in the U.S. Congress voted last year to ban the video sharing app for national security reasons unless it sold its U.S. operation. 45 in Wheat Ridge, 47 in Aurora, 48 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Gorgeous September weather here for the next few days for Denver in the Front Range. Temperatures will be very comfortable, mid to upper 70s today, low 80s Friday, upper 70s Saturday. Will be a touch cooler in the low to mid 70s Sunday. Today through Saturday, sunny and dry, maybe an isolated shower late Sunday, otherwise pleasant. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist on day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Horrible news yesterday. We were covering live the press conference, the shooting of the targeted attack that took place against the ICE agents in Dallas. Sources familiar with the investigation have identified the gunman as a 29-year-old Joshua Hahn, Jahn, is how you spell his last name. Authorities said that 3 detainees were shot, one of them fatally, and then the gunman also died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The FBI has said the incident was a targeted attack on the Department of Homeland Security, ICE. They ended up killing a Mexican national yesterday. So, and then he had on the bullet anti-ICE. This thing's a whole mess. But DHS reporting 1,000% increase on assaults on ICE agents. And I sit back and I survey the landscape here, Mr. Thorpe, and I'm watching Democrats like Jason Crow go down weekly to the ICE detention facility here in Aurora. I mean, he's measuring the temperature of the salsa being served. to inmates at the ICE detention. I mean, he is on top of it, and he has every legal right to do so. There's a law that says he could show up unannounced, but he's going on a regular basis to check in on the detainees at this ICE facility in Aurora. Seen the images of lawmakers protesting outside of ICE facilities in places like New Jersey, interrupting ICE operations that are taking place there, creating all this havoc on top of 4 years of a Democrat-run administration allowing millions of people into the country, not holding them accountable. And so Trump gets elected on the mandate that we're going to close the borders. We're going to be a lot more serious about our immigration law. And if you're here illegally, we're going to deport you. If you're a criminal, we're definitely going to deport you. So he gets the mandate from the American people. ICE goes to work. And now you have assaults taking place against those very same federal agents. So you got Democrat policies that allow illegal immigration. The American people elect Republicans to get serious about illegal immigration. The Democrats go down and protest outside of ICE facilities, show up and harass, I would say, harass workers at these facilities to the point where, as Danielle Jurinsky pointed out, they've got to change before they can even go home. And 1,000% increase on assaults on ICE agents, and now a shooting targeted at them. This is out of control. This is out of control what Democrats have done here. Your thoughts, sir?
I'm not certain that I agree with you saying that Democrats have done this, per se. I think there's a little bit of a horse apiece on both sides, because you described one, I disagree that Donald Trump was elected with a mandate, not based on percentages or anything else. I also disagree that he was elected with a mandate to do something about the illegal immigration. That wasn't what he sold us. He sold us migrant crime wave. And I can agree with you that migrant crime wave was a deciding factor inside of the election. But when you're showing up at restaurants and you're showing up outside of people's houses and arresting them while they're gardening, you have a hard time making the argument that you're going after the migrant criminals. And that could just be a messaging issue. I personally, on the show before the election, pointed out that most of the voters were misunderstanding that the position of MAGA was, if you crossed illegally, that made you a migrant criminal, despite the fact that the ones they were holding up as examples were ones that were violently attacking and injuring people. The examples they were using were, we need to go after these violent migrant criminals, yet the underlying message that I understood from MAGA was that we're going to go after anybody that came across the border illegally. And I think that's part of the problem, is that when you sell migrant crime wave, showing up at somewhere like the Korean battery factory and arresting them and then taking them out of the country, again, you'd have to show me the large swath of migrant criminals that were there. I do understand some of the raids have turned up some gang members and some violent criminals, but there are portions of those that aren't. We looked at some of the statistics of the people being arrested and detained by ICE as having either a previous criminal conviction or a violent conviction, and it is not a majority of them. And I think that is the problem that the country is having at this point, is we were told by Donald Trump and the Republican Party that these migrant criminals were coming in to victimize us and attack us, and look what happened to Laken Riley and everything else. And this is the horrible thing that the Democrats have unleashed. And then when you go and you grab the people that have been running the bodega in Jersey for 30 years, that doesn't appear to be the migrant criminals that appeared in all the campaign advertisements. I think that's part of the problem that we have here. And then when you get into ICE, some of the tactics, and I understand why they're covering their faces. I personally disagree with it, but I understand why. But it also is a really, really, really bad look, because it does lean into that dystopian era type of sci-fi where you have masked enforcement troops in the streets coming and grabbing people. There are times in which we've seen ICE do some actions where they're taking people in unarmed cars and not any marked vests. So how do you know that you're not viewing a kidnapping or you're viewing a law enforcement activity? We don't have any of that. So that leans into some of this perception that ICE is operating more like a secret police force than but like an immigrant enforcement agency.
Why the 1,000% increase on assaults on ICE agents?
Probably because of number of actions ICE is taking, and also just the temperature, in the room type of a thing. The idea being, if we had 100 police actions or 1,000 police actions, we are going to see increased consequences over 1,000 actions and we'll over 100.
But Mr. Thorpe, you just laid out, though, that who ICE is going after are the people at the bodegas.
No, I didn't say only. I said that's part of it.
But you said that they're mostly going after them. But I thought these were just peaceful people. So if they're just going after peaceful people, why 1,000% increase?
Wouldn't the peaceful people be upset if you're taking people that are peaceful? I mean, what would you expect?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's pretty clear they aren't peaceful people.
I would disagree on that, but I understand.
If
I understand
you're
where you're going with
assaulting
this.
an ICE agent, I think that's the definition of not being a peaceful person.
Here's the thing. There always is going to be a point in which you push a peaceful person into action. That's kind of how some people get into fights, some people get into wars, some people get into disagreements. That's it. And so there were lots of peaceful people until something happens. And there also were people out there that are more bent towards violence in one thing or another. But the idea being that what I'm saying is the increased number of actions does lead you to a potential of increased number of incidents. And based on the temperature and how things have been going, I can see a lot of the pushback. I don't agree with the idea that people should be assaulting ICE officers, but if they're supposed to be going after the migrant criminals and they show up at the restaurant and vast majority of people there aren't these gang members or violent criminals, they're not down at the apartment complex holding people hostage or pulling out fingernails, showing up at the restaurant and taking the people that are working as the dishwashers, there's some questions there. There's some questions about, are you actually going after these dangerous migrant criminals, or are we just doing this based on immigration enforcement? And there's a disconnect based on the message that was sold, because the message that was sold was, we are going to clean up this crime, not that we are going to clean up the immigration. The issue was the crime. That was the motivating factor behind the message during the election.
I've always found that to be weird, because Trump literally went to the border and said, we're going to shut this down. The argument has always been, we're going to close the border and we're going to get serious about immigration. But I said it last hour, and I believe it is strengthened this hour during this conversation. Democrats love criminals. They, for whatever reason, think that criminals occupy this beautiful space and they're willing to defend them. Example after example. The fact that we're willing to release dangerous criminals back into our communities time and time again. Jared Polis won't call a special session. They know the problem with the law. They won't do anything about it because Jared Polis loves criminals first. Jason Crow will go down to the Aurora detention facility to check on the temperature of the beans being served to criminal migrants that are about to be deported, yet won't meet with the families that are being tortured by illegal alien gangs in his own community. It is always criminals first with Democrats, time and time again. Prove me wrong. Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law Text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk advanced hair restoration. Guys, if you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology. And best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com, 720-459-HAIR, advancedhair.com. Let's go to the phone lines. Jim in Colorado Springs. Good morning, Jim. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, listening to your show on the ICE agents, it's very interesting. But I think one thing we're not looking at is the degree and level on what a attack on an ICE agent is now being registered as.
That's fair.
First of all, I want to say that I'm very much for ICE. I do like the policies. I'm very much our Trump supporter. So I agree with a lot of directions they're going. But statistics are statistics. Number one liars in the world. An ICE agent attack, if you spit, you're going down. So the level has probably been increased. Not to mention, we've got 5 times the amount of interactions with ICE agents going after and arresting. So it's just going to jack up the numbers to 1,000%, as well as how come the ICE agents are being attacked every day.
Jim, the argument coming from those on the other side is that Trump is going after people that have been here for 20 years, that own a bodega, they run a restaurant, they're peaceful people. And then at the same time, you have 1,000% increase. So whether or not it's a spit, a hit, a resistance arrest, or God forbid, what happened yesterday, a shooting, it's up. So how can you hold that Trump's going after peaceful people if you have such an increase, even if it's minor, but an increase of assaults against the ICE agents?
Because the terminology or the definition of assault may have changed greatly.
Yeah, because remember the guy in D.C., the DOJ charged him for felony assault for throwing a sandwich. That was felony assault. A sandwich
but he threw
throw.
a sandwich. I mean, it's not like he's going peacefully.
But again, throwing sandwiches. If people showed up outside the ICE detention facility and threw sandwiches at them, would we be up in arms as the dude that showed up with a gun yesterday?
But can you say they're peaceful people, just minding their business?
Sandwich throwing?
But that's a ridiculous. That's a ridiculous comparison between two levels. But throwing a sandwich is still an assault. Not respecting the ICE officers and having violence towards them is still an assault.
But it's not a felony. The reason I brought it up, though, Jim, is because it's not a felony. And they tried to charge him with felony assault, and it's not a felony. And that's part of it.
Then make it a felony. If I just got pissed off and pushed a cop in the chest, I should be arrested. You have to be accountable for your actions. You have to be held liable for what you are doing to a federal or a local police officer. We can't just have it like, oh, it's okay, we'll figure it out later if that was really something bad or not.
Yeah, but felony charges have to rise from things like immediate danger and some other stuff, and you can't really make the argument that a sandwich is necessarily a dangerous instrument. That's why it doesn't rise to felony. That's why the charges fell apart. They overcharged. If DOJ would have come with simple assault, they would have been fine. But the charges fell apart and were rejected by the grand jury because they came with felony. That's the issue.
Jim,
and that's why 450 years ago they said, first we kill all the lawyers, because all they can do is mess around with the words. You can't attack an officer in any level.
Jim,
and if we have to make it so severe that it's going to deter people from attacking officers, then we do it. What if you did that to a judge? You threw a sandwich at a judge, or you threw a book at him?
Book and sandwich are different, I think. It's just in my mind. I mean, just personal. No, I'm just saying this is in my personal opinion. My personal opinion, throwing a book at someone versus throwing a sandwich, I think rise to a different level just based on potential injury. But that's only me. That's only my opinion from behind the microphone.
I don't. If you came from another country here illegally, you already broke that law. Now we got you, and I know the guy that threw the sandwich wasn't here illegally, but now you're spitting at law enforcement, being a problem, trying to get out of here, throwing a sandwich. Look, I think you've proven yourself not worthy to be in this country.
Amen.
Jim,
because we have to start enforcing rules to protect our society, and those that are protecting our society need to be protected themselves.
Yep. Jim, Colorado Springs, sure appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Sure makes all those pardons in January 6th awkward, doesn't it?
It's like bingo day.
Awkward.
I love. There should be a little bell when Bill cites January 6th.
Yeah, you should, because it's relevant. Because unfortunately, y'all want to put it into the memory hole. And right there with Jim on the call, he said, we need to protect those that are charged with protecting us. Yeah, but we have people that beat police on a certain day, but because of the color of hat they were wearing, full pardon. That's okay. People that were convicted of a conspiracy to try and overthrow the government, full pardons. That's okay. Again, that has to be part of this conversation. It needs to be relevant.
And I think it's important to point out the facts in all this, too.
Yeah.
And the facts being that a lot of that prosecution was so over the top that you got to the point where praying grandmas were being convicted. Meanwhile, assaults on ICE agents can go up 1,000%.
But
and apparently it's warranted.
Everybody who assaulted a police officer that day is now free. That's it. You can complain all you want about the grandma.
Are you sure everybody?
Yes.
I'm not sure it's everybody.
No, he pardoned all 1,500. No, he didn't, and that's the issue. When we talk about, and again, this is just a side quest right now. But when they talk about the idea of whether or not Biden knew every one of these pardons he was doing in the auto pen, one of the things we know about Trump is he didn't go through all 1,500 of the pardons from the prosecutions on January 6th. He did it as a blanket. That has been recorded, and that's out of his mouth. That's okay. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying right, wrong, indifferent, whatever you want to do with that. But when we talk about, and that's the reason I brought it up, is because Jim at the end there said we need to protect those who are in charge of protecting us. However, with a particular day and a set of particular actions, we didn't want to do that. Okay, that's it.
So what's the point?
The point is, before you cry and scream all about, hey, we got to protect law enforcement. How can this happen? How can this happen? This is ridiculous. And look at the Democrats doing this. Understand that our president also pardoned people who assaulted police and broke into the Capitol. So just have
and
that.
And do you think your analysis is fair?
Yes, absolutely. It's fair.
Right.
It's a fair comparison.
Because so you think that Trump believed, like the left does, that those law enforcement officers deserve to be assaulted?
I think, and it is my personal belief, that Donald Trump thought they were there for him. And because they were there as his fans, the actions were then excused because they were there to support him. That's what I feel about his decision making. That's it. I don't think it's the idea that he thinks that what this is okay, this is anything else. It's because they were there for him and his supporters. I think that's as far as it goes. But that's just my personal opinion.
I don't think that's a fair analysis of the reason why Trump pardoned.
Okay.
Because I don't think Trump's excusing assaults. Okay? What the FBI ended up doing in the prosecution, the investigation, the prosecution of January 6th, people ended up being so kind of, I don't want to say over the top, but so aggressive, and the punishments were so aggressive, and how a lot of those people were treated while they were in prison was so aggressive that Trump didn't think that it was fair.
Okay, got a question.
Okay,
for you.
so I don't think he's excusing assaults on law enforcement officers. I don't think you have evidence of that.
How come? Hang on a second. Yes, I do. He pardoned the people that beat police officers.
And I just explained to you why his reasoning was for that.
Hang on a second.
And to say that it was somehow because he feels like it was a warranted attack on them, I don't think is correct.
No, I didn't say warranted attack. I didn't say that. I never said warranted attack. I never said that. You're adding words into this. And I'm not saying – and what I'm saying is that rather – and you keep going back to all these people that were overcharged. It's very convenient to ignore the people I'm talking about specifically, which are those that attacked police officers, those that broke into the building, and those that were there under a seditious conspiracy. That has been proven in court. Those are the people I'm talking about. You keep coming back to the overcharged people. And the reason it's important in the conversation is Donald Trump didn't make the difference. He didn't look at it and think all these people here are overcharged, but those that were doing this still should be held responsible. He said all of them are no longer held responsible. So coming back to the idea of the group that is overcharged ignores the people that I'm specifically speaking about. And that's all I'm saying, is that before we sit here and yell and scream about, oh my God, Democrats are okay with this happening to law enforcement and ICE, understand we've also pardoned people that did the same types of things. That's it.
And I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the issue.
How?
I think
Please explain that.
Because I think the Democrats believe that that the assaults against ICE are warranted. They want to defund ICE. They want to expose ICE. They think that ICE are the shock troops, or the Nazis, or the dystopian law enforcement wing of an authoritarian president. I think they excuse it. I've never heard Donald Trump say that what happened on January 6th to those police officers was warranted or excused. The point of his pardons was that he believed, as a guy who had been over-prosecuted, that the FBI over-prosecuted, over-punished, and over-sentenced people that were involved in January 6th. I think they are fundamentally different things.
He doesn't have to say he excused it because he excused it. It doesn't matter what he said. It's his actions.
Of course it does. The motivation absolutely matters.
No. Here's the thing is you can't say, well, he didn't excuse it. He excused it. He did. Yes. He signed the pardon. He excused it.
Why did he sign the pardon? Because he believed that the rioters were correct in assaulting police officers.
I don't know why. Well,
yes, you do know why. I just explained it to you why.
No, Jeff. I explained why I believe that he did. I don't know why. I don't know. Neither do you know. But what we do know is that he did excuse it. That's it. He didn't have to say it. He did excuse it. That's just the relevancy inside the conversation.
No,
that's it.
No,
yes,
they're fundamentally different issues.
No.
And you have shootings taking place against ICE agents as of yesterday, and somehow we can't condemn it because of what happened in January 6th, which was excused.
I didn't say we can't condemn it. I didn't say we can't condemn it. I'm saying that
I'm
just saying that we're myopic and trying to memory hole a certain thing. And then we sit here and say only the other side does it. It's not reasonable or rational. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just pointing out that the idea that one side versus the other is just silly in this conversation because both sides have their warts. That's it. That's all I'm pointing out.
No,
yeah.
No, Bill,
it's okay. You don't have to
becomes
accept it, but it's real.
this excuse.
It's not an excuse.
Yes, 100%. It's an excuse. We have ICE agents facing 1,000% increase in physical assaults taking place. You have Democrats that in some cases are standing outside these ICE detention facilities leading these charges. Not against directly assaulting, but some of them are getting pretty dang close to it. Okay? And somehow January 6th comes into it.
I'm just saying, if you're worried about assaults on law enforcement officers, you just
I know,
need to be
it's like
okay
a bingo
about all
card.
of it.
It's a bingo card.
No.
I mean, we could have a 1,000% increase in assaults on officers, but we won't condemn the Democrats because January 6th.
Pretty sure we probably had a significant increase in the percentage of assaults on officers at the Capitol that day. Just saying. Every time we go through this, it just you have to be reasonable inside of it.
It's
no,
whataboutism.
It's not. No, it's about. No, it's not. It's not at all. No, it's
and they're not even the same. Donald Trump never justified the violence on it, and the pardons were related to the fact that a lot of people were overcharged. The FBI was incredibly aggressive, and he faced that same thing from the same FBI. He didn't think it was right. He's never, ever excused assaults on federal agents. Never has.
He pardons. That's the excuse. That's it. He doesn't have to say anything. He did it. That's it. Full stop.
And you're 100% wrong. All right. Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Clapolis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk station, News Talk 710 KNUS.
to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I debating the targeting of ICE agents up 1,000%. And I'm making the argument that this is a sustained effort by Democrats, progressives, that goes back to defund the police, make police officers liable for split-second decisions that are made, efforts out there to protest outside of ICE detention facilities. It's a consistent demonizing of law enforcement officers that comes from the left, and apparently January 6th makes that the same on the right. I think they're fundamentally different. You don't see a sustained effort coming from the right to defund the Capitol Police, to disparage the Capitol Police, to justify the violence against the Capitol Police. The pardons that were explained by Donald Trump, and I think he was right in this, were based on the idea that the prosecution of the January 6ers was overly aggressive. Some cases, a praying grandma being brought up on federal charges. I don't think he's excusing the violence on the police officers, and I don't think it's a sustained effort to demonize the police in the same way that you get from the left. The shooter yesterday had anti-ICE written on bullets. You have dangerous people walking free in Weld County right now. It is a sustained, consistent element on the left to always stand on the side of criminals. Bill, your thoughts?
I disagree with that one. It's the sustained thing to always stand on the side of criminals. Both sides do it, depending on who the criminals are and whether or not you like them. And we can go, and this is inconvenient, but for both parties, looking at the laundry list of presidential pardons of people that have criminal convictions for a variety of things. Sometimes even your own son and other things. So the idea is we do that all the time. And I kind of want to go back to the idea of ICE and the migrants and everything else, because I found some audio from Donald Trump when he's talking to Howard Kurtz. And I think it's interesting to hear how Trump describes our migrant and immigration problem. This is what he said.
You talk about illegal migrants, and it's a huge crisis at the border. And after 3 years, obviously, the Democrats bear the primary responsibility. Why do you use words like vermin and poisoning of the blood? The press, as you know, immediately reacts to that by saying, well, that's the kind of language that Hitler and Mussolini used.
Well, that's what they say. I didn't know that, but that's what they say. Because our country is being poisoned. Look, we have, and we can be nice about it. We can talk about, I want to be politically correct, but we have people coming in from prisons and jails, long-term murderers, people with sentences that the rest of their lives they're going to spend in some jail in some country that many people have never even heard of. They're all being released into our country. These are murderers. These are people at the highest level of crime. And then you have mental institutions and insane asylums. I always say the difference is one is Silence of the Lamb. You know, it's a mental institution on steroids, okay? And those mental institutions and insane asylums are being emptied out into the United States. And then you have terrorists pouring in at levels that we have never seen before. This is a horrible thing. Only bad is going to come of it. A friend of yours, Sean Hannity, said, it's 100% certain that there'll be big problems here very soon. He means an attack.
I know there's a lot.
That was my point. Is he sold us migrant crime wave. He sold us, look at all these criminals that are pouring in. And then when you go and you arrest the woman that runs a bodega in Jersey for 30 years, you grab a grandma that's out there gardening, that's difficult. When you're saying that they're emptying the prisons and you go and you raid a battery factory from South Korea, it's difficult because that's prior to the election. That's what he was selling. He was selling, they're emptying their prisons, they're emptying their insane asylums. These are the worst of the worst criminals that are pouring in here.
Wait, to the tune of 10 million?
And again, that's what he sold. That was his statement. I'm not characterizing him. Those were his statements, his words, how he described it. And when people see ICE not arresting those people that he said were pouring into the country and going to destroy it, there are some questions. I don't agree there should be violence, but you got a problem. You have a problem when you're not arresting those people that he said were pouring in. Arrest those people. That's it.
Oh, my gosh. I don't even know where to start. All right.
Okay.
So the idea, I will tell you this as a Donald Trump voter, the idea that people supported Donald Trump simply because he was only going to go after murderers and people from insane asylums is crazy. You had an open border to the point of 10 million people crossing in the last few years. That was a big part of it. So this analysis that somehow I found a quote of Donald Trump saying that we have murderers, insane asylum people and terrorists coming across the border, and that was the only people Trump was going to go after, and that was the only people he sold that he was going to go after. It's just fundamentally crazy. That's not what the election was just about.
I got more of
included
those.
the fact it was a wide open border, and he did events down there. People wanted the border shut. And it wasn't just one or two statements about murderers and insane asylums. It was about closing the border. Go find some statements about closing the border.
I can't find them. I mean, I can find him talking about. Hang on a sec. Wait, hang on. Wait, hold on. Let me retract that. I can find him talk about closing the border, but it's because we need to stop the people he just talked about. What I can't find is him talking about we need to get everybody that has crossed the border illegally that has been here for years. I can't find him make statements about people that are not violent criminals also getting deported. And now, I'm not the best researcher. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. That I can't find. But I can find those quotes about criminals being released from prisons, being released from insane asylums, the worst of the worst. They're dumping their worst people here. It's horrible things. I can find those over and over and over and over inside the election. What I can't find is the argument that you're making. I can't find that from him. The idea that we're going to go after everybody, the tens of millions that have entered here, however they got here, overstayed visas, they're the problem. I can't find that. What I keep coming up with is murderers, worst of the worst, dumping the insane asylums. We heard that over and over. They're bringing people from the insane asylums. How many times did he mention Hannibal Lecter? That was what the reference was. We heard it over and over again. That's what he said. And that's why people are sitting here going, hey, you told me you were going to arrest these people. And when you walk into the restaurant and you arrest the dishwashers, those aren't the gang members.
It's wild to me because the media at the same time lambasted Trump for saying he was going to deport 15 to 20 million people, and they said, there's not that many people here. This is just crazy. Secondly, okay, just because ICE agents are going after quote-unquote peaceful people, I don't think they're peaceful because you have 1,000% increase in the amount of assaults taking place against ICE. I think that's proof positive you're not dealing with peaceful people. It's not justification for hitting an ICE agent. I don't care if you've been here living quietly and running a restaurant. There's nothing to justify the assault on an ICE agent. And it's happening, and they're getting shot at. All right, let's go. Oh, we're up against a break. Ben, we'll get to you next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
That's Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill, here's an article from CNN. In May of 2024, Trump explaining his militaristic plan to deport 15 to 20 million people. They were freaking out about the fact he was going to use the military, and they specifically cite that this was the same pledge he had back in 2016. The idea that this was just, well, we're going to go after just the bad criminals is revisionist. Back in the spring of that election, everybody was running around because he was going to claim he was going to build camps in Texas and use the National Guard. And this was going to be between 15 and 20 million people. All right, let's go.
And he talked about people that we had in the quote. It was always about those horrible people that were being emptied out of the jails, emptying out of the asylums, and coming here to take advantage of Americans. That's what he sold. He sold those criminals. Those people coming out of the jails.
Deportations.
No, he sold the people coming out of the criminals. That was it.
No,
That's
I'm
what he
reading the
said.
headline, mass deportations.
Because he said they were all mass criminals coming out of the jails. That's what he said. That's what he said in the quote that I had right there.
He did not say that
you heard it out of his
15 million
face.
people were murderers coming into this
You
country.
heard it out of his face. That's all the people who were coming in the criminals.
My goodness.
That's what he
Let's
said.
go to Ben and Morrison. Good morning, Ben. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, morning. One of the things that this item has been studied and studied and studied over and over again throughout the years. And one of the biggest reports that ever came out on issues where there's violence against officers and situations like that was the Kerner Commission that happened with LBJ back in the 60s. And they were looking at, when protests get violent, when crowds get violent for issues, anti-Vietnam protests, the Civil War marches, things like that. And all these studies have consistently shown when law enforcement gets more rowdy and more heavy-handed, violence also goes up every single time. Every single one of these studies consistently shows that. And right now, I think at ICE, we have a lot of people that, are like Paul Blart mall cops that aren't really trained, don't really know how to de-escalate situations, and they're coming in and turning up the heat.
Ben, what evidence do you have of that?
I can watch a video right now that has a ICE officer shoving a 70-year-old something lady hard when she's just getting up in his face and like talking with him aggressively, but he shoves her hard, and that lady goes down, falls, is very slow to get up, and you can see the crowd around her.
Is this the candidate that was running for Congress that got shoved down?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, because she was creating problems and wasn't allowing ICE to be able to leave the facility, and so she was purposely blocking their ability to do their job, and they pushed her out of the way. What would you like to do, Ben, who insults ICE agents as Paul Blart mall cops?
There's definitely different ways to detain someone or move them out of the way, especially when you're a 200-pound man and this lady's 5'2" and 70 years old. I mean, do you think that's the appropriate level of violence that you need to use against a person like that?
If you're
I don't.
Okay. And well, I
think that makes you a pretty wussy man, honestly, to shove a little old lady.
Oh, come on. You're misconstruing this. Ben, you can't even tell me what the situation was. I asked you if it was this specific situation where a member of Congress or someone that was running to become a member of Congress, a candidate, got in the way and was constantly putting herself in a position. You didn't even know the details of this, yet you feel the right to sit here and judge ICE agents that are trying to keep your community safe. It's a shame, Ben.
Oh, please. He shoved a little old lady. That's all you need to know. That is the situation.
No, it's not. That's not
He's
it at all.
He's overreacting to a little old lady who's in his face. And yeah, it's like, what else could you have done there? Well, you could have.
I don't know. Apparently give her flowers, Ben.
Restrained her,
written
put her
her
in
a nice
handcuffs.
note. Maybe walk her. Take her on a nice little walk. Come on, Ben. These people are working hard to keep your community safe, and you have the audacity to insult them the day after they were shot at by anti-ICE activists. It's a disgrace, Ben. You know better. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.